experts. Joining us now is a member of the GST Council and the Finance Minister of the state of Kerala, Mr. Thomas Isaac. Mr. Isaac, appreciate you joining us here on this special Network 18 broadcast. You're not going to be in Parliament, Mr. Isaac. Why have you decided not to go?
Certainly GST is a very important tax reform, but not of an order to have a midnight session, recalling the days of 1947 and so on. That's a propaganda, partly political propaganda. I don't want to be part of
Is that the problem, Mr. Isaac? Is that the only problem that you have? That this is, as you called it, propaganda, and hence your hesitation to attend the GST session in Parliament tonight?
That's reason number one. Reason number two is, I don't think these are times for any celebration, even if it is for GST. At a time when lynching of people has become a kind of common occurrence because we belong to a different faith, is really obscene. I feel disgusted to join the Parliament to celebrate GST or anything for that matter.
But Mr. Isaac, don't you think that, you're missing the wood for the trees, sir? Because on one hand, you say that you support the idea of GST, but, on the other, you're simply opposed to this midnight session, this obsession, that a lot of opposition parties seem to be having against the government's desire of having this midnight session. What message will you send to the people of the country? Will people of the country not think that you all are completely opposed to the idea of GST, though in principle you seem to be supporting it?
People won't think like that, because we are responsible people governing state governments, and we are implementing this program here. We have been party to it. In fact, discussion started, when? 2009. Since then, the discussions has been going on. And political parties, including BJP, has taken positions. We know very well. In fact, the entire enterprise of GST was scuttled in 2011 because BJP decided to oppose it. In fact, they stonewalled it for the next 5 years.
Is it about, on one hand you say that the country has nothing to celebrate because of these lynchings which are going on. On the other hand, you say that this is just about the government trying to, to score some political points, trying to portray itself in a proper color. Is your reluctance at the end of the day only and only with Prime Minister Modi, with the BJP? Is that the reason why you boycotted this?
Look, we have been cooperating with the center and other states to formulate the GST, roll it out. But now, what is this drama of midnight? Tell me. I don't think GST is as fundamental a change as that introduction of VAT to us, really. In fact, GST I consider an extension of VAT across the state boundary. Therefore, or in the direct tax code for that matter. So there have been nodal points in the evolution of Indian tax system. This is yet another important one. But to make a drama of it to this scale is certainly a political propaganda.
Mr. Isaac, as you said that you didn't want to attend this session because you believe that this is propaganda and drama. But let me now talk to you about substantive issues, sir. One issue that requires clarity from the GST Council is how responsive will the GST Council be? The view from the ground is that, look, we expect the GST Council to be flexible, we expect the GST Council to be responsive, and it's going to be crucial and critical for the GST Council to act hastily, given the fact that you will get feedback in real time from the ground on the implementation itself. So explain to us, sir, how responsive will the GST Council be in the implementation phase of the GST?
Well, members of GST Council are finance ministers of various states and the union government. And they are elected people, they are responsive to the people, and therefore a council consists of such a diversity of political opinion drawn from all states in India and of very different experiences and so on, cannot but be responsive to what is the reaction from below. And therefore, if you look at, for example,
sir, can I just hold you for a moment? Can I just hold you for a moment, Mr. Isaac? You know, because there is some breaking news that we're getting. There is some breaking news we're getting, sir, that former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, and this is the view which is coming from the MOS Finance Santosh Gangwar, who's spoken to our correspondent Arunima, and Mr. Gangwar has told our correspondent that Manmohan Singh, former Prime Minister, is going to attend this GST session, despite the fact that there is a boycott. There is a boycott which has been announced by the opposition, but Manmohan Singh, Shereen,
well, then this will confirm what GVL Narasimha Rao was saying, that there's confusion within the Congress party, if indeed the former Prime Minister does attend, because remember, the invitation was given to former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh by the Finance Minister, saying we would like him to be on stage when the GST rolls out. So that, if you're saying...
But yeah, you know, I mean, that's the view which is coming with Santosh Gangwar, but the truth is also this, that Manmohan Singh yesterday had officially sent a letter of regret to the Prime Minister's office and to the Lok Sabha Secretary, saying that he will not be attending. That was Manmohan Singh yesterday. He's just trying to figure out whether he's really going to attend.
Let's just wait to see if the former Prime Minister is going to attend. But coming back to you, Mr. Thomas Isaac, in terms of the responsiveness of the GST Council, today in the meeting of the GST Council, you've seen another rate revision. You've brought down the rate on fertilizers to 5%. What is the possibility now of more rate revisions, sir? You've got a lot of representations coming in from industry. Are we expecting rate revisions maybe within the first fortnight of the implementation of the GST?
I do not think any overhaul of the rates. All the rates have been reduced substantially. If you take the incidence of tax in the pre-GST regime and the present one, that incidence of tax in 90% of the commodities have come down. Now take the case of fertilizer. There were many considerations to be made. The first consideration is that the embedded tax in fertilizer is much more than 5%. And therefore you reduce it to 5% would mean the state governments will have to refund the manufacturers. Well, that's the decision that we have taken, because 12% tax on fertilizer, well, it was not getting good reception among the farmers, and therefore council took a positive view about it and made the decision, you see. But it's not a simple thing of playing around with the rates. One, you have to have a calculation of the existing pre-GST rates. And that's very difficult because rates differ from state to state, and therefore you have to calculate the weighted average. That's calculation number one. Calculation number two, you have to look at the taxes embedded, the tax that was paid for the raw materials that would go to make fertilizer or whatever. So these two calculations are taken and a rational decision has been made. Now, still there is option for public opinion, and some of the rates will be fine-tuned. I don't think there will be basic change in the structure of rates at all.